Mr. Gordon, I want to thank you for your service to your government. We know that this is probably not the highlight of your career to come before Congress with this draft executive order that Mr. West was asking about. But I want to start by saying, for the average American business, small businesses especially, they're dealing with high government regulations. They're dealing with the burden of government regulations every day. I'm just talking to a group of constituents up here, small business folks, heating and plumbing contractors, and they're talking about regulations, the burden on their ability to hire folks. And what we're talking about with this is in essence, employers going to their employees and saying, we need you to give us every donation you've made to the causes most dear to you. That's an additional burden, and Americans are private folks. Even if you have to disclose a political contribution, for instance, on the Internet, it's a little different when your boss comes in and says, hey, tell me who you've been voting for. I mean, that's basically what we're saying with this. So, but I've got a larger question. In a time when the cost of government is gone up, I mean, government is spending more this year as a percentage of the economy than it has since World War II. So my question is, would this disclosure requirement, will this in any way reduce the cost to the taxpayers of these government contracts?
The issue of the cost that we spend on contracts that you raise, sir, is an extremely important one for us. I have to tell you, and I tell you this with pride, that over the prior 12 years, we saw the amount of money being spent on government contracts year after year increasing. In fact, over the 8 years before this administration came in, we were increasing on average year over year 12%. People said to us, you'll never be able to stop that. We stopped it. In fiscal 2010, we spent something on the order of $15 billion less on Federal contracts.
No, let me ask this question.
Than the year before.
Mr. Gordon, I appreciate that, and that's not the question I'm asking, with all due respect. Someone is offering, you put out a bid for paper products. Would this disclosure requirement, this additional certification that you would require, does that reduce the cost of those paper products to the government?
I understand the question, I think, sir.
Does it reduce the cost of providing that good or service to their government? I mean, if you don't want to answer, just say that.
No, it's an area we focus on a lot. The fact is, transparency requirements impose burdens. As we implement them.
Or costs, burdens or costs?
Absolutely, sir. Those burdens turn into costs, and we, the taxpayers, pay for them. Transparency is not free. One of the benefits we hope to get through transparency, though, it was alluded to earlier, is more competition. And more competition can lower cost. Absolutely.
So more competition by having a greater requirement on a contractor to do business with government. That seems a little interesting to me and sort of defies logic. But let me ask another question. And you talk about the bid protest process, which you have a great level of expertise in. Would you anticipate that this additional disclosure would increase the bid protests?
Actually, sir, I don't think it is likely to do that. I think it's good to have bid protests available as a check. But if you have a system in place where there is information available to the public, but not taken into account in award decisions, you shouldn't have an increase in protests.
Okay. Well, thank you. And additionally, as this would operate, in the bid process, you would ask those that are bidding the government if you'd ask them to certify that they've made these disclosures on their political contributions, right? You'd ask for a certification. Is that likely how it would work operationally?
Boy, you're several steps ahead of me, sir, but I understand that one method that's been used in some states is to say that, yes, companies have to say they've made all required disclosures, just like today we require companies to say we don't have a tax liability above $3,000 a week.
Okay. And would you verify that that certification is indeed correct?
Yeah,
or was made?
Normally, we try to minimize the burden on our contracting staff. So normally, unless they have reason to doubt a certification, we don't require them to check. For example, if a company certifies that they're small, normally the contracting officer can simply accept that certification unless she or he has a reason to believe that it's inaccurate.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to comment, and it is certainly interesting with that certification. You know, we would just simply hope that that procurement officer wouldn't look at those contributions that are publicly made to certify that they were indeed made public. And if they did view those contributions, that would have to necessarily influence the outcome of a bid.
The Chair now recognizes Mr. Langford from Oklahoma.